This is Cachtice Castle. Originally built in the 13th century to defend the border of the Hungarian Empire. For generations, the castle was traded between warring noble families until 1604, when a countess called Elizabeth Bathory changed the castle and the town forever.
When Elizabeth, in her early 40s, as a widow, moved full-time into the castle, she must have appeared unbelievably glamorous to the local villagers with their hard lives. She had this sort of youthful glow about her.
Elizabeth inherited the castle upon the death of her husband, a member of the powerful Cachtice family.
She inherited all of his property, and suddenly she was the head of a wealthy, noble household, possibly one of the most powerful single women in Hungary at the time, in a period when women were largely treated as second-class citizens.
As Countess of Cachtice, Elizabeth invited young women into these rooms to sweep the floors and cook her meals.
In her 40s, she's there offering the school, basically, for other young noble women. It wasn't uncommon, it was a normal thing to do, to go and live with another family and learn how to housekeep, how to prepare for marriage and life ahead.
But events were about to show the true cruelty of the 17th century Hungarian nobility.
Rumors started to circulate. The girls who went to Cachtice Castle didn't always come back.
On December 29th, 1610, a squad of soldiers stormed through the castle gate and searched the grounds.
When the soldiers looked around, they found one dead girl. Then two girls were reported injured or almost dying with visible marks of cruelty or violence.
One of them was already dead, but the other still had just enough life force to point the finger at her killer, Elizabeth.
The young widow may have been a woman in a man's world, but she also had a reputation for barbarism.
It's said that she physically hurt her students for minor infractions, like folding the sheets wrong or spilling water, even for just looking at her the wrong way.
The punishments ranged, well, the stories say, everything from just a slap around the face to drawing blood. And then it got more and more gruesome.
Supposedly, she would prick them with sewing needles.
She bit them until she drew blood. She smeared honey on them and exposed them to bees and ants.
Cut them with scissors.
Scald them with hot metal bars.
Leaving girls out in the cold to freeze to death.
And one of her most notorious acts happened inside the castle's dungeon.
Elizabeth needed her manor house free because she expected the visit of her daughter Anna. So she ordered the girls to move up to the castle to stay there during the daughter's visit.
The girls were made to stand naked in the cold cellar for days. When they were let out, some of them could barely even walk, and they were killed very soon afterwards.
It's said that Elizabeth Bathory killed up to 600 young girls. She literally has a Guinness World Record for it.
The rumors of Elizabeth's savagery go all the way back to her childhood.
She came from a family notorious for its alcoholism, incest, and sexual deviancy. When she was young, she suffered from terrible migraines, which her family diagnosed as demonic possession. It's said that she even bathed in the blood of her victims. That might explain the youthful complexion.
With the finger pointed at the Countess, the soldiers arrested Elizabeth. She was tried and banished to her castle tower for the rest of her days. The tyranny of the bloody Countess was over. But not everything is as it seems in this grim fairy tale. In 17th century Hungary, A countess is imprisoned for murder, giving rise to a legend. But while the dungeon lies at the heart of this story, something remains amiss.
There's one thing that doesn't quite add up here. Out of an alleged 600 or more victims of Elizabeth, we haven't found a single grave or a single skeleton. Nothing.
The man who arrested her and found all the bodies just so happened to be head of a rival house in the neighboring province, which is unreliable and suspicious.
Elizabeth was clever, she was literate, she could speak 4 languages. She was also a woman. She had a massive target on her back.
Looking at this as a lawyer, despite concerns over the evidence, I can't help but think that there was something ghastly going on in that castle. It's very rare that there's any smoke without fire.
So either Elizabeth Bathory, the bloody Countess, was a stone-cold mass murderer of young girls, or she was a powerful but innocent woman framed by her unscrupulous rivals. We may never know for sure.
The castle stood for another 100 years until it was sacked in a rebellion. What remains is now open to tourists seeking to learn about the legend of Elizabeth Bathory.